Great decorating is all about the details, including a gorgeous textured set of coasters. How we love a coaster. Functional. And why not be beautiful? Quince has a gorgeous set of woven rattan coasters in 3 terrific colors with their own little holder that you're going to absolutely love. And if you haven't visited quince.com/DTT yet, get on over there. It's everyday elevated living without the markup. From crisp 100% linen bedding and soft organic cotton towels to airy curtains and premium kitchen tools designed for everyday use. And the best part? Like Quince's clothing, their home goods are half the cost of similar brands. By partnering with top artisans, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Elevate your space with home essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT.
More must-know tips for your decor.
Before we get started today, I wanted to let you know about something kind of exciting. If you have a quick decorating question that you need answered, here is your chance to get our expert advice. Leave a review of Decorating Tips and Tricks on Apple Podcasts, and in the last sentence, include your question. We'll answer it in an upcoming show. Questions accepted through the month of May. Our decorating is classic and timeless, as is our advice. So today we're sharing a classic DTT episode from the archives with you.
Hi, this is Anita Joyce here with Kelly Wilkness, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks, Must-Know Decor Tips Part 2. We had so much fun with the last episode coming up with our must-know tips that we felt like it really deserved a Part 2.
Oh, indeed. And oftentimes the part 2 is not as great as the part 1, but I think this one might even be better than the part 1. We've dug deeper and we have really great tips, and they will sort of all come together and fit together for your decorating arsenal. So if you listen to part 1, definitely dig into part 2. And if you're just joining us now, go back and listen to part 1.
Okay, well, you ready to dive in?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so this is something to think about, and it's been an issue for me in the past, and that is to make sure your furniture is scaled properly for your room. I've had situations where I felt like our furniture I had was maybe too big for a room or too small. So if you have cathedral ceilings, you're going to want to make sure that you don't just have small furniture in the room. You're going to want to make sure it's sized for the space. And even with each other, make sure everything's scaled properly with other things in the room. So, for example, I had a situation where I have a very tall chest behind my sofa. It's 38 inches tall, which is the height of the back of the sofa. That's a tall sofa, FYI. So it's a massive chest, really. And I put some chairs on either side because I had that when I had a sofa table back there. With this large chest, the chairs started to look like little tiny children's furniture. And it really looked odd, but I left them there for a while because Kevin had just said, I really need a chair there. Well, I took them out because I just was not working. And I ended up having an extra counter stool for the island. I have 4 chairs there, but it's kind of snug. So I took one out, put it by the chest, and it's a little taller than the chest, and it works great. And I cannot tell you how much better that feels than those small chairs next to the chest. So definitely, check your size for the room.
Yeah, and that segues to one of my tips. Mm-hmm. Scale your furniture to your sofa, in a family room or a living room, any place where you have a sofa. That's the biggest piece. So if your sofa is tall, like Anita's saying, or something it's a larger, oversized, then you don't want to have little dinky chairs. You want to have other pieces that will complement the size of the sofa.
And that's interesting you say that because even at our farm, I have a day bed that I use as a sofa. It's kind of has delicate legs, but it's big. And I had some delicate French chairs in there that were legs. They were like Louis XV chairs, very airy underneath, leggy. It just wasn't working. And I was trying to go with light, small scale chairs because the space wasn't that big. But with that day bed acting as a sofa, the chairs just looked too dinky. When I finally put some club chairs in there, it works. So I've had that situation too.
Oh, I have been in that space and I have slept on that day bed and I have sat on those chairs, and I was even allowed to sit on those chairs with red wine, which I learned later on was not something everyone's allowed to do. So I felt, I felt really honored and trusted, which made me feel really comfortable. No, I could see in that space smaller chairs, and I would get where you were going with that, Anita, because, it's not a giant room with giant high ceilings. So you would say maybe something with some legs and something a little lighter visually, but no, the chairs that you have in there really work well, and those chairs are substantial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're comfortable too. In fact, when I would take a picture of the room, it looked like doll furniture. Mm-hmm. There was something about it. It just looked off. So, I mean, they're really, the chairs I had, they matched that sofa love seat so perfectly. But just because something matches doesn't mean it's working.
Ooh, you just have to take that's a bonus picture. Tip right there.
Yeah. You got to look at the whole picture there. Okay, on to
moving on.
Next tip. Kelly, have you ever looked at your room and felt like something was off? Like you weren't sure? You weren't sure.
Yeah.
But you thought maybe.
My living room for 3.5 years. I kept looking at it and saying, I know something's wrong here, and I'm not sure how to fix it.
Exactly. And it's kind of like the book Madeline, where she goes, something is not right.
Oh, yes. Miss Clavel, something is not right.
Yes. So when you have that feeling like something's not right, guess what?
You're right.
Not. You are right. Well, there's a reason why we say it, where we kind of say, I'm not sure, rather than it's not working. And that's because maybe we just bought something that's kind of expensive, or maybe we just made our husband move something very heavy down the stairs or up the stairs. And now we realize it's not working, or we have to return something. So, we have a vested interest in making whatever is work the way it is. So it's hard to accept that. So that's when we kind of think, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. But the thing is, if you have that nagging feeling, you're not wrong. Don't ignore that feeling. And we've all done it, because it's just, you're vested in whatever the status quo is. But if you have that feeling, there's a reason for it. That is your intuition telling you it is not working. So if you have that feeling, just know it's not working.
Yeah. Trust yourself. And if you
trust yourself, there you go, right there.
Right. And if you're not ready to completely trust yourself, email us and we'll tell you you're right for sure. Because if you're feeling it, I think that is really, really good advice. Here's some more good advice. Do your homework before buying antiques. We've discussed now it's a great time to buy antiques, but the tide is turning. So, that window of great buys and opportunities may be closing, because people are starting to recognize that these old world pieces, particularly the brown ones, are really beautiful, and they're going to start snapping them up again. But just because it's in an antique store that has a nice storefront and, gives out nice bags and tissue paper and stuff like that, doesn't necessarily mean that the piece is worth what they're asking. So maybe you can do better at estate sales or flea markets or eBay or Etsy. So look around. I mean, certainly if on a day trip or a weekend trip with your girlfriends and you're all in the cute little town and you're buying antiques and you see something you love, well, you know what? If you paid a little bit more for it, so be it. It's part of the experience. But if you're really out looking for certain things or adding to your collection, do your homework. Know what it is valued at on the broader market before you start laying down your own hard-earned cash for it.
Right. And we're really talking about your particular area. Because sometimes people ask me, well, should I be paying for some item? And it really is very specific to your area. And for example, Texas just has always had some of the best prices on antiques, whereas in other states, they would go for a lot more. So you really need to know the market in your area. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a good ancillary tip too. Yeah, definitely geographically.
So if you have a room that is dark or has uneven light, let's say a lot of light from one side, no windows on the other side, a big tip is to put in mirrors on the wall that has no light on it. And we're not talking about little tiny 1 foot by 1 foot windows. I mean oversized mirrors that look like windows, that kind of operate like windows. So we're really talking about big mirrors, and we're really talking about those mirrors that sometimes they have an arch at the top and they have facets to them. They have they're broken into sections so that they kind of look like a window. Those are going to really help even the light or just bring some light into the room.
I love mirrors. Okay, so I'll jump around then to stay on the mirrors. Put a mirror in your entryway. If you don't have one there are so many good reasons, not just, checking your look before you dash out the door. It also will bounce some light around. If you have a door with some glass on it, the light will come in. If you don't have a door with any glass and it's a solid door, it will help bring some additional light and some reflection into the area. It's just a perfect place to have a mirror. And I think I've said before, I love a mirror almost in every single room in the house. I think it has a place in every room. I even have a mirror in my kitchen. And it's not, for gazing out. It's for moving the light around. Mm-hmm. And I think that the entryway is the perfect place to do that.
I think that's a great tip, and I do love mirrors, and there's so many beautiful ones. What a great way to add some style and your personality to the room. Pick out a mirror that appeals to you because they're all so very different, have such different personalities. Now, when we were talking about knowing something isn't right, let's move on to paint, because this is where you can really go wrong, and you can go wrong fast, and I've done it. So the tip is use samples. Don't go ahead and buy paint for an entire room without making sure that that is the correct paint for that room. So you want to have some samples. You want to buy some paint samples and try those out on the room, or go with Kelly's tip, which is to use that Sampleize company. And those are samples of your paint color, and they're basically was like 1 foot by 1 foot, and they're removable. They're repositionable wallpaper, basically. So you can put them on your wall year round and see if you like them.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we had somebody email us recently that they had purchased those. So I think that's a really good tip. Choose a simple tile backsplash. I was just with a dear friend yesterday, and she was asking me what could she do about her tile backsplash. She's had subway, but in between the subway, she put sort of a Mediterranean, she has a Mediterranean home. She put Mediterranean looking tiles, and she really doesn't want them there anymore. She's feeling like it's dating the kitchen. She's like, remember when I did my kitchen? The girls were in kindergarten. And first of all, I couldn't believe it was that long ago, but here it is. She used subway. And then, so that's rectangle, and then she has these square decorative tiles. It's going to be really hard.
Are they mixed in?
They're mixed in.
Oh,
right. So however the tile design was. So, my advice to her is, of course you can do it, but you're going to have to find a square tile that either matches the subway or is in another neutral, or maybe like a crackled version of your white, just something that's going to bring neutrality to the background. It's a couple of tiles. She might even be able to paint them. We've discussed that, and a lot of our listeners have actually done that, completely painted their backsplash to great success. So that's something you can do. But if you're doing a kitchen now, or you're thinking about doing a kitchen later, try to stay away from being swayed into some sort of colorful decorative tile. I was just at a tile store the other day, and my head was spinning with all the beautiful tiles. And I even brought home some tile samples. Like, I was thinking, why am I even bringing these home? But I got so swept up in the moment. I got some for a client, and I was like, I'm going to get these for me. Maybe I'll do something with these. They're beautiful. But it's something you're going to have to live with for a long time if it's the backsplash of your kitchen or if it's in your bathroom. So think long and hard about how you can add the interest or the pops of color that you want in accessories and other ways other than putting in permanent tiling.
Good point. And I remember when, several years ago, I was picking out tile. Well, it was a long time ago. And my friend was saying, oh, I would go with these hand-painted Portuguese tiles. And I remember at the time thinking, I like them, but I remember thinking, I just don't think I'm going to like those down the road. And so you really, the simpler is the better. And remember when everyone had that backsplash behind the stove and it was a mural, basically, or different tiles there. And I balked at that when we built this house. I said, no, I don't want anything back there. And I mean, my builder looked at me like I had grown a horn or something. But now that's kind of the thing people are doing. So
Right. So
yes,
no one's doing that anymore. It's so true. And the tiles now that are very, very popular, they're not all of them are the actual process of, I think you say caustic tiles, but they're large patterns, if you will, lots of times just in white or black or gray and white and black. You know what I'm talking about? There's like a swirly pattern, and you see them everywhere. It's going to be you did your kitchen in 2018 or your bathroom in 2018 any second now.
Oh, I know. When I see that as a backsplash, it kind of makes me sad because I think you're really going to regret that probably about 5 years from now.
Exactly. Just about 5 years. You're absolutely right. Because you're going to oh, that's really pretty. And then all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh, it's so dated.
It's not that I don't like them, but I just don't think they have that has a staying power.
It doesn't. I was tempted, and I actually found a little pile of them that I have taken from maybe I'd bought a one-off or they gave me samples at a tile store when we were doing this house. And I put felt on the back of them, and I've made them trivets.
That's how you do it. Exactly. Yeah. That's how to enjoy it.
Or buy a tray that has them on there, or be crafty and make a tray yourself with those tiles. Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. I can't stop using dupe.com. This is an amazing website, service, best friend. I absolutely love it. So you find something that you really want and it's too expensive. It's a budget buster. Then you use dupe.com and you can find almost the exact thing or very similar products for much less. So I was crushing on this incredibly gorgeous coffee table. I had it in my mind. I had it in my Pinterest boards. I had it everywhere, but I just didn't have it in my house because it was too expensive. When I learned about dupe.com, that was the first product that I tested. And boy, did I find some amazing dupes. And I purchased one. So the original was almost $3,000. And Dupe showed me many choices, all the way down to under $200. Now, you may think something this extraordinary is hard to use, but it's so easy. Just type dupe.com/ before any product URL in your browser, and boom, it instantly finds you less expensive alternatives. They even have an app and a browser extension you can download. No account required, no sign up required. It's completely free. That's completely FREE free to use. Stop wasting your money on brand names and start saving with dupe.com today.
Speaking of trendy tiles, that's my next tip.
Okay.
Is not to put a lot of money into trendy things, to invest money in investment pieces. Because those trendy things, if it's trendy, it's not going to be in style forever. And at some point, it's going to look like it's not in style anymore, and you're probably going to want to get rid of it. Remember the deconstructed furniture that was out for a while?
Oh, yes.
I really wanted a sofa or a chair out of that so badly. And I waited. I held my hand down rather than ordering. Waited a couple of years.
Sat on your hand.
Then I know. And now I'm so glad I did because they weren't cheap.
No, they weren't cheap. If someone didn't get that look, they'd be like, did you just pull that out of the attic? Or are you getting that reupholstered? Or the people that would get it, tick, 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 5 years later, you're like, oh, wow.
Yes.
So dated, so done. And you know what? So, in a sense, trying too hard. You know, and you are
Yeah.
not a person that I would ever say trying too hard, but I could see being tempted by that. I liked them too. I was more tempted by, and this was many years ago, those sofas that were done in all different fabrics. You know, like it'd be
Oh.
like cabbage rolls on the back.
Oh, I
and-
wanted that. Oh, I wanted that too, but I didn't end up doing it. But I
were-
wanted it.
Yeah, they were all like $10,000 and $12,000 couches, which is probably the only thing that really stopped me.
It saved us both, didn't it?
Yes, in so many ways. Saved and saved. This one. Use furniture placement to designate and delineate spaces. You know, on the same line as don't have all your furniture pushed up against the wall. Hey, you can, especially if you are somebody living in an open concept space, you can really section it off in such a smart way, creating easy passages and just a nice flow in your house by using your furnishings as delineators of the space. You know, a rug helps a lot in doing that as well. But even if you're not using rugs, you know, put your sofa and have the back facing the open concept kitchen, and maybe put a console table behind it. So educate your family, your guests, the people living in the house as how to use the space by the way you place the furniture.
Well, that's actually what I was talking about that chest behind my sofa. That's the kitchen is behind the sofa. And so that is exactly what we did. I didn't want people sitting in the kitchen to feel like they're facing the back of the living room. And that's why I put the chest facing the kitchen, so you don't feel like you're, you know, in the back of the room.
Yeah.
So I think that absolutely you can. If it's a really large space, you really have to do that. You can't have one large seating area in some of these massive rooms.
Yes, so true. And then what a fun opportunity to have more than one seating area.
Exactly. So, okay. So my next tip is, did you want to go on about that one?
No, I'm good.
Okay. The next tip is using something in an unexpected way. And this is something that I've always thoroughly enjoyed doing because it's a creative, fun way to repurpose something. So when I repurpose things, I like to do it in a way that it wasn't originally intended for. So, for example, I have a champagne bucket in my bathroom, and I have draped our hand towel over the bucket, and that's kind of our towel rack. So that's kind of an example. And then there's a big basket. I'm trying to remember what I have. I think it's an oyster basket I have by the tub, and then I've rolled up towels in there. It was obviously not meant for towels originally. And then I used a garden post as my newel post for my stairs. And then we took beadboard that used to be in an old house. It's antique beadboard that was painted green and blue and I think white or gray. And then I used that for my ceiling on my porches at my house. So there's so many fun ways you can take old elements and repurpose them in a new fun way.
Oh, you're speaking my love language doing that. I had the opportunity to do so much of that with this house because of so many sort of weird and interesting and really lovely things
It's
that were
fun.
left behind. Oh, yeah. I just think, how can I give that new life? One that just comes to mind because I was just cleaning it over the weekend. My porch was so dirty. And so I cleaned that all up. And one thing I did out there is I have a lamp. And so I didn't want a fabric shade or anything like that. So I had this odd little wiry sort of bucket or pail, and somebody who visited told me it's a scalloping bucket because it's just wire, and so I guess you would collect scallops in it and let it drain out. But I made it the lampshade, which was super easy because all I did was push the screw part of the finial up through the wire and then put the finial on it. Done.
How fun.
It was barely a DIY.
I love that. Oh, I've seen those, and they're really, and I've even seen those put over little chandeliers, the baskets over the chandeliers, the wire baskets. I think it's just kind of a fun.
Yeah. I have it over it's just like an old home goods lamp base with a Edison bulb in it, but it really is interesting. It makes the whole thing a lot more interesting. Plus, it can stay outside. Okay, what do I have next? Go dark in dim places. This is me talking to myself again because I really want to paint my bedroom Kendall charcoal, and I keep getting a little nervous about doing it. I think it's just it's very pleasing, particularly in a bedroom or in a study or a sort of a room that's off to itself. And why fight it? It's like, fighting your bangs or fighting your part. It's just never going to work out. It's going to do what it wants to do anyway. I have this weird knot center of my head, knot side part, and that's just where my hair does it. And so I've given up fighting with it and for many years ago, and that's just what it is. So I think I'm going to give up the fact that my master bedroom is dark, except for like 20 minutes at around 3 p.m. during daylight savings time, and then maybe 4 p.m. or 2 p.m. the other times of the year, but very brief period of time when I'm barely in there. So why not make it dark and just really embrace that? So if you have a north-facing room or a room that just doesn't have a lot of windows or small windows, or you need to have the window coverings pulled because of privacy needs or whatnot, try a dark, moody color.
Corollary to what you're saying is don't try to make your house something it isn't. So you're talking specifically about a dark room. If it's really dark, it's just dark, and you just need to embrace that. But so many other things about our houses, I think sometimes we're fighting what it is naturally, and we spend so much effort fighting it when, you know, there is a way to embrace it and appreciate our houses for what they are, and just to kind of celebrate their uniqueness. So, I mean, that's kind of an approach that you can take about so much more than just a dark room.
Yeah. Good overall tip. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So my next one is, and this one is probably more for me than anyone, because, you know, I love my little French chairs. I love, love, love them. But make sure your seating is comfortable, not just pretty. Okay. Am I just talking to myself? I'm probably the only one that does this.
No. I was reading something. Bunny Williams, somebody interviewed her, like who hasn't interviewed her, but she's like, and I have these little chairs that I just love. And I put them on the other side of my fireplace because they're really not comfortable. And I really don't want anyone to sit on them anyway. So,
well,
yeah.
I still have some chairs that are 200-year-old hand-painted federal chairs. They're those green ones that I've talked about. I still haven't fixed them, so you really can't. Not only would they not be comfortable, the seat would probably break if you sat on them. So when I had some people over recently, I had like trays and bottles on them, like, please don't sit here.
No, oh gosh, well, those are real antiques, so you have to be careful with those.
I'm going to fix them up, but yeah.
Big enough rug.
Oh, yeah.
Said it before, worth saying again. We have a whole rug episode, which we can link in the show notes here. Really important. If you can only go dinky for whatever reason or a small size, just don't even have it. Don't have a rug. I have this pet issue now where I just rolled them up, and I'm just going to be like this for a little while. I am probably going to try the Ruggables, which are those washable rugs. I'm exploring some other pet alternatives. So, I just rolled them up, and one I threw away. But when I replace them, I'm going to have a rug that is big enough for my rooms. And even though my room is very odd shaped, that's also a holdback in my living room.
What about indoor, outdoor? Is there some type of rug where you could buy where you could take it out and hose it down?
Yeah. So, that's like, okay. My pet
the Ruggables
issue.
are that way. Yeah,
right. They're washable, but the other one's the indoor, outdoor ones. But the real tip here is, big enough. If you're talking about your dining room, you want to be able to have someone pull the chair out and the chair still be on the rug.
Yes, true.
All the legs of it. You don't want your sofa and your flanking chairs to be hanging on by their toenails, so to speak. They need to be, at least halfway on, maybe more, particularly if you're seeing the other side of the rug. If it's against the wall, you can kind of get away with it not going all the way. But yeah,
that is such a problem if you go with rugs that are too small. It really can change the look of the room. It just doesn't feel luxurious.
Right.
So I think that's very important.
So if you're going to layer rugs, or you're currently layering rugs, you still want to have substantial sized rugs to layer. If you have a big sisal, you don't want to put a really small rug on top of it. The next rug has to be big enough. Or if they're sort of overlapping and maybe going through a long room, they can't be just little bath mat type rugs. They need to be big as well. So layering doesn't give you the license to go smaller. I guess what I'm saying, right?
Yes. Well said. I think that's a good point. Another tip is to mix modern items with antiques. I think one way or the other, it ends up feeling very stiff. Too much of the same thing can be boring. So I think this is such a great way to add a fresh, modern feel to your room while embracing the past too. So I think it's a great look to have both. And gone are the days where you really just have antiques or you just have modern. I think it just works so well to have both in a room.
Yeah. And you know what's really fun? Paint the inside of a closet. Such a fun weekend project.
Really? It doesn't sound fun to me.
Oh, come on, Anita. It's fun. Don't tell everyone it's not fun. It's fun.
Okay.
No, first of all, you get to purge your closet, which is really fun.
Well, I do like that.
Take the stuff out of there, pare it down, and then pick a really fun color. I did this in my other house. I painted the coat closet, which was super small, but I painted it this sunflowery yellow, and it was just so fun every time you opened it to get a coat or umbrella. I mean, I don't know why I had the time to do that. I guess it was before I had a podcast and a blog and a friend named Anita.
When did you have this kind of time? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. That was many years ago, but I really enjoyed it. And here we don't really have a coat closet, but if I did, I would also paint it. So that's a fun way to bring in your pop color in a surprising way. And it's kind of just like a little secret for you. I mean, how many people are going to go get a coat out of your closet that isn't somebody in your family? I just think it's fun. And particularly if it's a closet where maybe your kids are putting their backpacks and stuff like that, I'm sure they're not going to be like, wow, Mom, everything's gotten so much better since you painted the inside of the closet turquoise. But, it is fun.
Oh, yeah, but be careful because I've had painters come paint closets and then later, much later, you find that top and it's got paint on it.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah. But, well, if the closet was small enough, I would be into that.
Here's a really good tip you might not have thought of. Take all the stuff out first.
Yeah,
Anita.
you should. Of course. Yeah, of course you should.
Don't paint around your clothes.
That's the point. That stuff should have been taken out. Exactly. Ay. Okay. So we talked about mixing modern things with antiques. Here's another mix I think that really works, and that is mixing budget things with expensive things. And if you have some expensive heirloom pieces or some quality investment pieces in the room, that really is going to be what people are going to notice. And you can get away with putting some budget things in there, but people won't read the room. It won't be read as a budget room. They will get the feel of it being a luxury room because of the luxury things in the room or the investment pieces. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on everything. So these are the kind of things, too, I like to have a lot of bang for my buck. So I kind of look at the item and say, is this something that there's a cheaper version of that looks just as good? And if there is, I'll go for the cheaper thing. If there really isn't, then that's the thing that I feel like, okay, that's going to be my investment piece.
Love it. If you have a small space, how about furnishing it with some white furniture, glass tables, lucite, things with low visual noise? That's going to make a small room feel a whole lot bigger. We've done this to really great success in my daughter's extra room, like her lounge, Laura's lounge upstairs. It's a small space. It
sounds like a bar.
She doesn't have any ID yet. No, it's much too young for that yet. So I have wood planking on the walls. It's a real low ceiling. It's this weird little room that may have been added. It's kind of over the kitchen. I don't know at what point between 1886 and when we moved in, this room was added, but it seemed like it was not in the original plan. So it's kind of an odd little room. And you step down into it. So we've done all white with pops of pink and use lucite, very narrow lucite coffee table. I painted my little orphan side tables white. She's got a white Crate and Barrel sleeper sofa, like a love seat one that pulls out. What a difference. Heard it before. You're going to hear it again. Edit. If it's
True.
If it's meh, just get rid of it. Just like, do I really even like this? No, let it go. It's okay.
Yeah, do not focus on what you paid for it. That's not what it's about.
Right.
If you're not enjoying it and you don't need it, it's time to move it on.
Right. Or what somebody else paid for it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, sell some things. I think that's a great idea. Create your own signature decorating style. And the reason we say this is because I think so many times people want to put everything into a box. They want to just pick out one decorating style and then make their room fit that particular decorating style. But I think it makes much more sense to kind of let you kind of go through and see all the styles, and you pick and choose what works for you and then create your own style. I don't want you to feel stuck in a box where you have to go with like mid-century modern. Maybe you like mid-century modern, but you like French too, and you want to combine them together. I think that makes for a more beautiful, more unique room. So I think that's something that's really of value to do.
And let's all remember the rule of threes when you're creating vignettes on your shelves, on any horizontal surfaces, in your entry table, in the middle of your dining room table. Incorporate the rule of threes, and it's going to be a lot easier to make a lovely vignette, something that makes sense. So 3 items, varying heights, oftentimes varying textures really is nice when you're doing a vignette like that. And if it, for whatever reason, you have a big space, it needs to be bigger, at least stick with an odd number. So I wouldn't get more than maybe 5 pieces tops, but the rule of threes will really help you decorate. And when you think about it and then you start seeing things in magazines or out in the world or in shops or things like that, you'll notice that for whatever reason, it's very pleasing to the eye. Like, this is scientifically proven. It's not just a decorating tip off the top of someone's head. It really is true. There's something in the human brain that 3 items really resonates with us, and it is pleasing to the eye.
I so agree. I think that's such a great tip to go with 3. Sometimes 2 works, a pair, but a lot of times 3 is a magic number. You know how boring some hallways are? I mean, I think it's easy for them to be very boring because usually they're narrow. You don't have room to put any furniture in there. So there's no soft things. So you don't have room for chairs. You don't have room for pillows, or for a lot of times there's no window. So you don't have any curtains either. So if you've got a hallway that you feel like is boring, here's a fun thing to do. Paint the walls a bold color, or paint the doors a bold, fun color. I think that's a great way to really add some excitement to your house. And and then it's not a room, so you're not stuck matching that color to all your fabrics and everything. So it doesn't matter if you can't find anything to go with that color. It's the hallway. You don't need to find anything to match it.
I like that idea. I always sort of thought of a hallway as the palette cleanser, that I didn't want to do anything too crazy in there. And mine is white, which, most of my house is. But I'm finding myself wanting to do something there. So I think that the step I might take is the doors.
Yeah.
Not the walls. Because sometimes it's hard to find that stopping point.
Exactly.
If your hallway going down the stairs or something like that, you're like, I'd have to drop a little like corner molding or something, and then it becomes a bigger project than you want it to be. So I think I'm going to try the door.
I think that's a great idea, and I'm with you too. Sometimes there isn't a good stopping point. And here's the thing too. It's going to be a lot faster just to paint the doors than to paint the walls. So there's no artwork you have to take down. You don't have to move anything. And but you do have the same issue where do you stop the color?
Yeah.
So that's do you use that same color on the inside?
Oh, you mean of the doors?
On the door, yeah.
I think I would just do it on the
outside.
Yeah, the door, the face of the door facing the hallway. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, to just do the doors. I think that would be great. So what's your next one?
Use every room in your house regularly. Now, if you have a big giant house, that might be hard to do, but it's, there's just something not great to have stagnant rooms. Now, of course, if it's a guest room and it's rarely used, I guess you can kind of get away with that, but try to have reasons to go into each room of your house on a regular basis. Maybe it is a guest room, but maybe you set up a little desk in there and you do some work in there sometimes. You're rotating around and moving around. Or, if you have a living room that doesn't get used that much, well, maybe rethink that living room and make it a little more comfortable, make it a little more approachable, and start to use it. It's just not good sort of, mojo to have rooms in your house that are never used. And, aside from it just being sort of a waste of space that you're cooling or heating and all of these other things, it's a really good idea to have, to imprint the life of your family on all the spaces that you have in your home.
Well, and I think it's so sad to have space in your room, in your house that you're not using. So I think it's a great idea if you find that there's a room in your house that you're not using, to think about how you might be able to transform it in a space that you will use. So I think that's a great idea. And I'm going to add on to that one and say, if you have a guest room, obviously this is not where you're sleeping, but I think every host should sleep in their guest room maybe once a year or every other year to make sure that it is a nice place for your guests to stay.
Oh, that's smart.
So we stayed. So I thought we were going to check out our guest room, because I redid the guest apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So we stayed over here, and it was really worthwhile because Kevin said, you know what, you really need some. There's no space to put nightstands on either side of the bed because it's kind of tucked in a corner. He said, you know what, we really need some lamps in here. And I thought, you know what, that's a great idea. So I actually found some at IKEA that I need to go get that are floor lamps that are adjustable that I think I'm going to get for the space. But we wouldn't know that had we not stayed over here. So, yeah.
Switch up your coffee table display regularly. It is a decor hotspot. Start with a tray, then incorporate the rule of threes, create a vignette, maybe a new candle, maybe some flowers.
Okay, well, my last tip is to add texture to the room. So if you have a lot of hard spaces or you don't have texture, that's something good to add. You may already have texture in the room. So that would be baskets, rugs, pillows, fabrics, textiles, anything like that is going to add some texture to the room.
I'm thinking about adding some grass cloth.
Oh,
I'm very excited about it. So we might even need to do a little section of an episode about grass cloth because I am just completely smitten by it.
Okay, what is your crush for today?
Okay, my crush is following Diane Keaton on Instagram. I don't know why I started following Diane Keaton on Instagram. I think it sort of happened one night. I had a friend over and her daughter. Laura and I had this woman over and her daughter. Were really friendly with them. She told us about bumping into Diane Keaton at a restaurant and how nice she was to them. And it was some small Mexican restaurant. It wasn't like some big fancy schmancy LA restaurant. And then we both looked her up on Instagram and we started following her. It's like following your friend on Instagram. She's so nice and approachable. And then she has all these other famous friends that you'll see liking her picture and commenting and stuff like that. And you kind of just get swept up into the fun. Clearly an icon, been around a long time, but she is such an absolute real person here on Instagram, sharing all kinds of fun photos and things she just finds funny or, some throwbacks to some of her films and things like that.
Oh, it's a bunch of videos. I'm just looking right now. Okay, I just followed her.
It is really fun. Highly recommend it.
Oh, great. Maybe she'll invite us over, right?
Well, she doesn't live
sure
that far from me, I'm sure.
I'm sure it's coming. There you go.
I'm sure it is. Now that she sees we're both following her, I'm certain it's coming.
Well, there you go. It's going to come any day.
And, she loves transformation of the home as well. She's written several books about that.
Yes.
The house that Pinterest built is a great book that she wrote.
Oh, yes. That's right. Okay, so my crush is a delicious tea. I'm very fussy about my tea.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had some people over for tea, and this is the tea that I serve them. In fact, Evie and I go for our birthdays. Once a year, we splurge and go to the St. Regis for afternoon tea. And this is the tea that they serve because I asked them. And it is the English breakfast tea from Tea Leaves brand. And it's a blend of Keeman and Ceylon teas. And it is just right because sometimes some of the teas can be kind of bitter.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is just very subtle, very delicious. But, make sure your water is boiling hot for black tea. Let it steep for maybe 2 to 3 minutes. No more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And about a teaspoon for 8 ounces of water. But then once it's sitting there for a while with the loose tea, it is going to become bitter over time. So drink it up really fast, or at least pour it up. And it is delicious. We'll include the link, but that is just divine.
Yeah, that's good to get tips on teas, because you see so many at the grocery store, Whole Foods, or at wherever, and it's hard to know. And then you buy a box and you're like, wah.
Well, this brand you probably haven't heard of, and the reason you haven't is because their market is selling to high-end hotels, like the St. Regis.
So. Oh, you're so snazzy, Nita Jane.
Well, I find things out. I ask questions. I want to know. And remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time.
Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.